I don't care who your father supposedly is. You're not getting on this jet. Captain Preston Manning's voice cut through the private terminal in Miami like a slap, aimed squarely at the two 17-year-old black girls standing at the desk with their boarding confirmations. Zara and Yolanda Whitmore froze, clutching the paperwork they had triple-checked that morning, their Wellington Academy uniforms pressed sharp, their composure already cracking under the weight of all the smirks in the lounge. To everyone watching, it was just another case of entitled kids trying to sneak onto a jet they couldn't possibly afford. And then something shifted. Zara straightened her back, lifted her phone, and in a voice that was calm, cold, and terrifying in its certainty, said, "We're calling our father." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Preston's fingers stopped mid-gesture. That smirk from the client in the corner died in his throat. Everyone knew they'd just made a mistake, but no one yet understood how big. That morning had started like a dream. The Whitmore twins had been planning this Boston trip for months. College interviews at Harvard and Yale, dinners with admissions boards, everything riding on making it there on time. Their father, Victor, had finally given them the green light to handle the charter themselves. Full trust, full independence, their first real step into adulthood. The charter had been booked through Skyline Executive's premium portal, confirmation email sitting neatly in their inbox, payment long processed. But when they reached the check-in desk, Kyle Morrison, the ground ops supervisor, looked at them the way people look at strangers who wandered into the wrong neighborhood. He scrutinized their documents like they'd been printed in a basement. He left them waiting 20 minutes, then came back with a smug grin and said the charter had been canceled due to payment issues. The way his voice carried across the marble counter, loud enough for everyone to hear, you could feel the judgment dripping from it. The girls tried to hold their ground. "Our father booked it directly. Here's the confirmation. Here's the email chain." But Kyle leaned in close, lowered his voice to a venomous whisper, and said, "Certain people need to understand private aviation isn't for everyone. You should be grateful commercial airlines exist." Those two words, certain people, hit harder than any slap. They weren't even pretending anymore. Still, the twins tried to play by the book. They went to security, hoping for fairness, only to be met by Agent Mitchell, who flagged them for random, enhanced screening the second they stepped forward. Their laptops pawed through, private school essays opened and ridiculed, prescription allergy meds waved in the air like contraband. "Always have to be extra careful with these types," Mitchell muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. A woman tried to record it, and security forced her to delete the footage under threat of detention. The message was clear. This wasn't oversight. This was systematic. By the time they reached the cafe, exhausted and starving, they thought maybe food would be a safe haven. But the hostess claimed every table was reserved, while empty ones sat right in front of them. Within minutes, a white couple walked in and was seated immediately with smiles and menus. When the twins protested, the manager appeared, not to fix the injustice but to silence them. Only Rosa, a Latina server, dared slip them her card quietly, a tiny act of defiance that would later prove crucial. Still, they pressed on toward the gate, armed with their original confirmation, the fake cancellation, and Rosa's card. When they reached the boarding desk, Olivia, the agent, brushed them off with bureaucratic nonsense. "File a complaint," she said, like their future wasn't about to evaporate if they missed that flight. Then came Manning, the captain himself. He examined their documents with exaggerated suspicion, loudly implying fraud. He demanded IDs, sneered at their student cards, called for security like they were criminals. And then, the final betrayal, Simone Bradford, a black supervisor, someone they thought might finally understand, arrived only to back Manning up. She looked at those girls like they were troublemakers, not clients, her voice dripping with contempt as she threatened to deny them boarding altogether. It cut deeper than anything else. The jet bridge showdown was inevitable. Logan Cartwright, another Skyline employee, stopped them cold at the aircraft door, loudly claiming their seats belonged to other clients. When they pushed back, he called security, two burly guards closing in with intimidation tactics, warning them of arrest. Passengers pulled out phones, some filming, some convinced they were watching justice. Yolanda finally snapped, This is discrimination. We have legitimate confirmations. You're stopping us because we're black. And then, everything stopped. Zara pulled out her phone and placed a call. Her voice didn't waver. Dad, Skyline is refusing to honor our charter. The man who answered didn't need to raise his voice to own the room. This is Victor Whitmore. You will not interrupt my daughter again. The color drained from Logan's face. The guards froze. Manning stumbled over words. Because Victor Whitmore wasn't just any client. He was the CEO of Skyline Executive Aviation. Their father owned the company that Victor's voice carried like judgment itself. What happened here isn't a misunderstanding. It's systematic racial discrimination, documented on multiple cameras, witnessed by dozens, inflicted on my daughters by my employees. Effective immediately, every Skyline aircraft is grounded pending investigation. The monitors in the terminal flickered, delayed. Entire fleets frozen in place. Within hours, the story exploded across the country. Hashtags trended, cameras swarmed, federal investigators descended. Employees who thought they were untouchable suddenly found themselves in disciplinary hearings. Their own words quoted back to them. Certain people, these types, not welcome. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. Victor didn't just punish them. He rebuilt the entire company. He set up an accountability council with civil rights experts, victims of discrimination, even employees who had been guilty but willing to reform. Kyle became a trainer, teaching others how his biases nearly destroyed a company. Mitchell partnered with the TSA to rewrite security protocols. Simone, broken by shame but transformed, became head of diversity and inclusion. 6 months later, Skyline wasn't collapsing like critics predicted, it was thriving. Corporations switched to them because ethics mattered, employees stayed because they felt respected, clients trusted the brand again. The twins, once humiliated teenagers, became national advocates for civil rights, speaking at universities, advising corporations, even testifying before Congress. 1 year after the day that grounded an airline, Zara and Yolanda walked into that same Miami terminal. Same uniforms, same bright eyes, but everything else had changed. They checked in without hassle, passed through respectful security, sat in the cafe where staff greeted them warmly, and boarded a jet flown by a Latina captain with her natural curls on full display. As the plane lifted, a little black girl tugged Zara's sleeve and whispered, "Are you the twins who changed the airplane company?" And Zara knelt, smiled, and said, "Yes, sweetheart, that's us. And don't ever forget, your voice matters." They'd started the day as two kids accused of fraud, but ended it as the spark that forced an entire industry to confront itself. Their father once told them, "You don't cause a crisis by standing up, you reveal the one that was already there." And maybe that's the truth we all need to face. Justice doesn't come when you wait politely. It comes when you refuse to accept less than dignity. Even if the price is a firestorm. Let me leave you with this. Were those employees just a few bad apples, or were they symptoms of a system built on bias? And do you believe grounding an entire fleet was justice or overreaction? Comment your thoughts below, because every voice, yours included, matters in this fight for dignity.